I settle onto my usual stool at the corner of the dimly lit lounge, the leather cushion creaking softly beneath me as I exhale my weary day. The neon sign outside flickers, casting ghostly reflections that dance across the polished oak surface in quiet invitation. Outside, the rain taps a steady rhythm against the window, like a careful drummer marking the passage of unseen moments. I watch the droplets race each other, like memories chasing time down a winding path toward somewhere I cannot name. The bartender nods with a friendly caution, his tired eyes kind but wary beneath the brim of his cap. His gaze meets mine silently, asking what restless ghost draws me back here on another sleepless night. I brush a lock of hair behind my ear as I lean closer to clear the haze clouding my thoughts tonight. The clock on the exposed brick reads 11:47 p.m. Only 13 minutes left until the bar's last call echoes in this space. Do you ever feel time press against you? When your heart holds a secret too heavy for daylight hours? This bar has been my refuge since I left college, chasing dreams that felt too large to fit in one lifetime. It saw me arrive hopeful, trembling beneath the weight of responsibilities I wasn't sure how to carry properly. Tonight, it cradles my regrets in its aged oak and ancient stone walls with silent empathy. I ordered a neat scotch, trying to steady my trembling fingers as warmth rose through my chest and limbs. But my voice betrayed me. With a tremor I worked hard to keep hidden within polite conversation. The house special arrived in a dark tumbler, its scent rich with spices that tasted like bitter nostalgia. Its aroma wrapped around me, like a ghostly embrace reminding me of promises I swore I would never break. Cheers seemed too small a word for what my soul needed tonight. As I raised that glass, yet I lifted it to my lips and let the liquid settle warm and steady like a lullaby. My gaze drifted to the vacant stool across from me, empty and waiting for a return that never came. Once she sat there, with her red wine and a smile that could push back the dark even on rainy evenings. Her laughter used to fill this room, like golden sunlight spilling through rain-streaked windows at dusk. We toasted to dreams of a lakefront cottage, lazy summer mornings, and endless road trips through sleepy countryside towns. Do you remember the first spark that made you feel truly alive? The one that reminded you of hope's gentle power? Each promise felt like an anchor in the storm of everyday life, grounding us against swirling doubt and distance. But the weight of our choices and the distance between us found cracks in our words. Slowly, letting hope slip away. She chased stories across far-flung cities on red-eye flights, while I chased deadlines in the neon glow of my office screen. I learned to craft sentences and campaigns, burying my longing beneath spreadsheets and caffeine-fueled evenings. Evenings that stretched deep into lonely nights. Calls turned to texts, turned to silence. And I clung to memories that grew dimmer with each passing hour. One spring night, we returned here, hoping to find that spark flickering beneath the dust of old routines. The bartender called, last call, and I felt the old familiar ache settle in my chest once more. I leaned close and whispered our vow again. Promise me that we will meet here at last call no matter what. Her nod was slow, her eyes glistening with tears she refused to let fall in front of strangers. I believed that vow would tether us beyond every storm, bridge every mile between our restless hearts. But dawn arrived too quickly, turning midnight magic into morning mist, and she disappeared into the pale light. Now I sit here, glass in hand, offering you this memory as a lullaby to soothe your restless mind and guide you gently towards sleep tonight. It's funny, my friend, how some promises aren't made with certainty, but with desperation, a quiet plea wrapped in trembling hope whispered at the edge of goodbye. That night, after she walked out the door for the last time, I sat right here, just like now, letting the minutes bleed into each other. The bartender didn't say anything. He just left the bottle on the bar and gave me a look like he understood something had ended. Not with a fight, not with betrayal, but with that quiet unraveling that happens when two people stop choosing each other. You know what I mean, don't you? Have you ever loved someone so much that silence between you became louder than shouting could ever be? It wasn't that we didn't try. We tried everything. Weekend getaways, dinner reservations at that overpriced French place downtown. We bought new sheets, started couples yoga. We even got a dog, Milo, a shaggy little rescue who always managed to steal the covers and bark at delivery guys. But none of it filled the space between our late nights and missed calls. None of it stitched back the parts of us that had slowly frayed over time. I remember once, during a thunderstorm, she asked me if I still loved her. Her voice was soft, scared. I told her yes, of course, but the words felt heavy in my mouth, like they knew they weren't enough. She deserved a love that made her feel seen, heard, held, even in silence. And me? I was busy chasing things that couldn't hold me back. Deadlines, goals, the illusion of security. She used to doodle in the margins of her journal, little sketches of places we said we'd visit. A vineyard in Tuscany, a cabin in the woods of Vermont. She dreamed of autumn leaves and morning coffee by the fire. And I kept postponing vacations. Kept telling her, next year, I promise. But the years passed, and the promises, they gathered dust. I kept thinking I had time. Time to make it up to her. To show her she was still the center of my world. But life has a cruel way of slipping through your fingers when you're too busy planning. And when she finally said, I think I need space, I couldn't argue. Because I had already given her so much distance. Do you ever wish you could go back to just one moment and say the thing you didn't? Just one pause in the timeline. A breath. A blink. To say, I see you. I'm here. I choose you still. But instead, I gave her space. And silence filled the room where laughter used to live. That night, when she stood at the door with her suitcase, she looked tired. Not angry. Not cold. Just exhausted. And then she said it. I'll be back someday. Let's meet here. Last call. Always. I smiled like I believed it. But even then, I knew it was a goodbye disguised as a promise. And I've been here, my friend, most Fridays since. Not because I expect her to walk in, but because some part of me still needs to honor the hope we built between bar stools and shared songs. Tonight, I don't expect her, but I remember. And that memory, that soft whisper from the past is sometimes enough to get me through the rain, to sit in stillness, to let the scotch settle and the quiet cradle me gently to sleep. You know what's strange, my friend? Sometimes the things you miss the most aren't the big moments. Not the vacations, not the anniversary dinners, not even the passionate fights. No, what lingers, what really sticks in your chest like a forgotten song, are the tiny things, like the way she hummed when she made coffee, soft and low, like some jazz tune she didn't know the name of. Or the way she'd roll her eyes when I told the same old story at parties. She'd pretend to be annoyed, but her smile always gave her away. It's funny how much comfort hides in the ordinary. We used to do this thing every Sunday. Not church. Not brunch. Just lay in bed and read aloud to each other. Sometimes a novel, sometimes old love letters, sometimes just silly horoscopes from the paper. She'd read mine with that dramatic voice, like some fortune teller from a carnival. Virgo, you will find unexpected joy in your morning routine. And then she'd smirk and toss the paper at me. Do you do that? Hold on to tiny routines like they were treasure? Because when someone's gone, that's what echoes the loudest. The soft things. The familiar footsteps in the hall. The scent of their shampoo on your pillow months later. It's like their absence sneaks into your skin. I saw her once after we ended. 6 months later, downtown, near the bookstore where we first met. She didn't see me. She was with someone. A tall guy, sharp haircut, laugh like gravel. She was laughing too. Not like she did with me. Not big and reckless, but soft, tame. Like she was protecting something. And I stood there, behind the glass of that bakery window, holding a coffee that had gone cold, watching her live, without me. And I didn't feel angry, didn't feel jealous, just hollow, like a theater after curtain call. You know that feeling? The audience is gone, the lights are dimming, and all that's left is the echo of applause that once was. That's what losing her felt like. I went home that night and found her old sweater, still folded, still carrying a trace of her perfume, and I sat on the floor, holding it like it could answer all the questions I never dared to ask. Do you ever talk to things that can't talk back? Old letters, photographs, ghosts in fabric and folded pages. I whispered into that sweater, "Do you still remember our Sundays?" And somewhere in the silence, I imagined her saying yes. It's silly, I know, but sometimes we need those illusions just to breathe, to sleep, to keep from cracking open in the dark. Anyway, that's why I'm here again. Same bar, same corner stool, same drink. And every now and then I order a second glass. I place it beside mine, just in case. Because a promise made at last call, even if it's wrapped in fading hope, deserves a place at the table. You know, I didn't mean for things to end the way they did. It wasn't some explosive fight. No yelling, no storming out, no shattered glasses on the floor. Just silence. That quiet, aching kind that slips in through the cracks when love starts losing its voice. We stopped asking each other how our day was. Stopped saying goodnight unless we were brushing our teeth at the same time. We used to laugh over burnt toast, remember that? But then, we just started making two separate breakfasts. Two different alarms. Two different lives. Under the same roof. One night, she came home late. I was on the couch, pretending to be asleep, but I heard her keys drop into the bowl by the door. She stood there for a minute, didn't say anything, didn't walk over to me, just stood there, breathing, then walked to the bedroom. That was the moment I knew. Something in her had already left. Dear listener, have you ever had that moment where you realize someone's heart is no longer in the room, even when their body still is? It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's quiet devastation. A week later, we sat across the kitchen table. The same table where we used to plan our vacations. Pick tiles for the bathroom we never renovated. She looked tired. Not physically, but soul tired. like a traveler who had walked too far in the wrong direction. She said, "I think we both know this isn't working." And I nodded, because she was right. No begging, no drama, just the soft ending of a song we both forgot how to sing. We divided the furniture like adults. She took the bookshelf. I kept the record player. We even hugged at the door that final day. It wasn't the kind of hug that promises anything. Just acknowledgement of time, of effort, of love that had done its best. But here's the part I never told anyone. That night, I went back to that little jazz bar on 6th Street. The one with the blue lights and the woman who always sings Autumn Leaves. I sat at the bar, ordered 2 whiskeys, left one untouched. Just sat with it, as if she might walk in, laugh and say, "Still drinking the cheap stuff?" She didn't, of course, but I needed that illusion. You ever do that? Set the stage for a moment that'll never come, just to feel something again? It's not pathetic. It's human. We carry our ghosts like old friends sometimes. And as the night went on and the crowd thinned out, I made a promise. To her? To myself? Maybe both. That I'd stop waiting. That I'd stop holding on to a table set for 2. But you know me, friend. Promises made at last call, they're a funny thing. They echo. They linger. And sometimes you make the same one again the next night. I think it's strange how routines survive even after people don't. I still made coffee for 2 for weeks after she left. Still set her favorite mug by the sink. You know, the one, it had a chipped rim and said "Good Vibes Only" in that annoyingly cheerful font. She used to roll her eyes at it every morning, but never stopped using it. Funny, huh? The little things hold the most weight. Not the trips to Italy we never took. Not the anniversary dinners we dressed up for. But that dumb mug. The sound of her humming while brushing her teeth. The way she always left exactly 1 bite of toast uneaten. Drives you mad, and then you miss it more than anything. I tried dating again. I won't lie to you. My friends said I needed to get back out there. Like I was some kind of lost dog on the highway. So, I downloaded one of those apps. You ever been on them? Swipe left, swipe right. Everyone pretending to like hiking. No one really smiling with their eyes. I matched with someone named Kara. She was a high school teacher. Taught literature. We met at a cafe downtown. It went okay. We talked about books, bad coffee, and our mutual dislike of cilantro. She laughed when I told her I once tried to impress a girl by pretending to like poetry. She said, "You didn't need to pretend. Nice girl." But you know what I realized halfway through that date? I wasn't really present. I kept imagining what she would have said about Kara. What she'd think of me sitting there, fidgeting with my sleeves, trying to seem interesting. It's like I was trying to replace her shadow with someone else's light. Does that make sense, my friend? I never called Kara again. Not because she wasn't lovely. She was. But because I was still sitting in the past, like it was a bar stool with my name carved into it. Sometimes we confuse healing with distraction. And distraction, well, it's like cheap wine. Goes down easy, but leaves you worse in the morning. I started journaling after that. Just a few lines a night. Little confessions to myself. Stuff like, I miss her laugh today. She would have hated this movie. I'm okay. Kind of. Writing helped. A little. Like draining a bathtub slowly instead of pulling the plug all at once. You ever write letters you don't send? I have a drawer full of them. All beginning with, hey, I know you're not going to read this, but sometimes I just needed to tell her things. That the cat still sleeps on her side of the bed. That I finally tried that vegan place she kept raving about. That I'm sorry for not noticing how tired she'd become. There's this thing we do, you know? We remember people better than they were. Not out of dishonesty, but out of love. We soften the edges, polish the rough parts until they shine. But the truth is, she wasn't perfect. Neither was I. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it mattered. I'll stop here for tonight. But if you're listening to this, eyes half closed, head resting against your pillow, I want you to know something. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It just means making room for what comes next. And sometimes, that starts with saying it out loud. The thing about promises, especially the ones whispered after midnight, they're slippery. Like steam on a bathroom mirror. You think they're solid when you say them, but by morning, they fade. You ever made one like that, dear friend? When your voice is soft from wine, and your heart a little louder than usual? I still remember the last night we were truly us. It was raining. Not the dramatic kind, just the gentle drizzle that softens the city. We'd found this jazz bar on 9th, one of those places you stumble into like it was meant just for you. The air smelled like old wood, candle smoke, and cheap scotch. A trio played softly in the corner. She loved the saxophone. Said it sounded like heartbreak in slow motion. We sat in a booth tucked away behind a curtain. I remember the way she leaned forward, her elbows on the table, her eyes a little glazed but clear enough to see really see me. And then she whispered it. That promise. If we ever drift too far, promise you'll find me again. I nodded, touched her hand. Always, I said. Stupid word. Always. Feels so certain when you say it. But time doesn't care about certainty. It pulls, pushes, distracts you with deadlines and dust and days you forget to call. You look up one morning and realize the silence between you has grown thick like fog you didn't notice rolling in. We didn't fight. That's the cruel part. There was no grand finale. Just a quiet unraveling. A few unanswered texts. A missed birthday. Two people too tired to try again. You don't see it while you're in it. But afterward, every silence sounds louder. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd showed up that morning. She said she needed space. I gave it to her. Thought I was being respectful. But maybe space is just a prettier word for distance we don't plan to cross again. Would she have let me in if I'd knocked? Or would she have looked at me like a stranger who used to fit inside her world? You know, sometimes I think heartbreak is quiet. Not the shouting kind you see in movies, but the kind that slips in while you're brushing your teeth, while you fold laundry and find her sock mixed in with yours. The soft reminders are the sharpest. I remember once, weeks after the last text, I found a receipt in my jacket pocket. From that jazz bar, her handwriting on the back. Next time, we try the bourbon. I stared at that note until my coffee went cold. Folded it. Put it back. Because sometimes, dear listener, keeping a small lie feels kinder than facing the full truth. Now, when it rains, I swear I can still hear her laugh. Not clearly. Just a whisper in the background, like a saxophone 2 streets over, like a promise made too late. Funny thing is, we never talked about forever. Not really. Not in the way couples sometimes map out the next 10 years. 5 pets, 2 kids, a house with a porch swing. We were never blueprint people. We built in moments, not plans. Coffee on Tuesday mornings. Sunday groceries. That stupid inside joke about the woman at the deli who always winked at me. But maybe that's why it hurt more. Because we never thought it could end. No expiry date makes it feel eternal until it isn't. And then you're standing there with memories that don't know where to go. You ever had that? Where every street corner reminds you of someone you used to love. I walked past our old spot the other night. The Jazz Bar. It's a bakery now. Bright lights, warm bread smell, cheerful music. It's almost offensive how life just moves on. I stood across the street, coffee in hand, and for a second I imagined walking in. Maybe I'd hear a laugh that sounded like hers, but I didn't go in. Instead, I sat on a bench, let the night air settle around me like a blanket. There's something about the quiet after 10 p.m. It holds your thoughts differently, makes them echo. I remembered her eye show they lit up when she talked about street art or 70s vinyl this silly dream she had of opening a bookstore cafe. She said it would smell like old pages and espresso, and it'd have a reading nook with a stained glass window. God, how did I forget that? That detail, it hit me like a wave. Like I'd swallowed a piece of sunlight that burned on the way down. I closed my eyes, just for a moment, and I swear, I could feel her hand slip into mine again. Sometimes, I talk to her, not out loud, just in my head. When I see something I know she'd love, a weird cloud, a dog in a Halloween costume, that feeling you get when a song you forgot about suddenly finds you again. I whisper, you'd laugh at this. And I wait, not for a reply just, for the silence to settle. You know what's strange, my friend? Loss doesn't shout. It hums. A low, quiet hum behind your daily noise. And just when you think it's gone, it changes key. Catches your breath. Reminds you that you once meant the world to someone. And they meant everything to you. If you're still with me, still listening through the hum of your own quiet, I want you to know you're not the only one. This aching, this remembering, it's something we share. So let's just sit here together for a while. You and me, two strangers with familiar hearts. You know, some nights, I wonder if she remembers the last thing I said to her. Not the big moments, not the I love yous, or the promises whispered into her hair. Just the small, stupid words. The ones we toss around without thinking. That night, the night everything shifted, I think I said something like, text me when you get home. Simple, right? But it stuck, because she never did. No text, no call, no explanation. Just a silence that stretched out like a hallway I never reached the end of. You ever feel that? That slow fade of someone who meant everything to you? It doesn't scream. It whispers, less and less each day. I still kept my phone close for weeks after. Checked it in the middle of the night, like some fool expecting a miracle. One message. Even just a period. Anything to say, hey, I'm still here. But there was nothing. And after a while, I stopped checking. You know what gets me? It wasn't the leaving. It was how quiet the goodbye was. No fight. No storm. Just a slow drift. Like watching a balloon get smaller and smaller until you can't even point at where it used to be. I thought I'd be angry. I thought I'd curse her name, slam doors, throw records, but I didn't. I just missed her. That was the worst part. You expect heartbreak to be loud. But sometimes it's just still. I saw her once, Months later, at a bookstore downtown, she looked the same. A little older maybe. Hair longer. Sweater too big for her shoulders. She didn't see me, and I didn't say anything. I just watched. From behind a shelf, like some ghost stuck between chapters. She was laughing at something in a book. And for a second, just 1 second, I thought maybe she's okay. Maybe that's enough. Maybe we don't always need the story to come back around. Maybe just knowing someone you loved found peace, that can be a kind of peace too. Still, on quiet nights like this, when the rain taps on the window like it's trying to be let in, I remember her. Not out of pain, not anymore, but out of, I don't know, gratitude, maybe. Because once, we had something good. Not perfect, not forever, but good. And not everyone gets even that. So if you've ever had it, even for a little while, hold it close. Let it warm you, even as it fades. I remember the way she used to say my name. Not just say it, sing it almost. Like the syllables were some melody she only played for me. You ever have someone like that, my friend? Someone whose voice makes your name feel like home? That's what she was to me. Home. And you know how it is. You don't always realize you've been living in warmth until you're out in the cold. After she left, I started frequenting the same bar every Friday. This one, yeah, the one I'm sitting in right now. Same stool, same drink, same quiet soundtrack humming in the background like a memory I couldn't quite place. It wasn't about chasing her ghost, really. More like trying to understand the silence she left behind. Funny thing is, the bartender here, his name's Lenny. He never asked me why I kept coming back. Just gave me my whiskey, neat, and a small nod. Sometimes, silence can be more comforting than words. You know what I mean? One night, a woman sat next to me. She had the same perfume my ex used to wear. That soft citrus and something sweet underneath. It hit me like a freight train. I nearly choked on my drink. She noticed, smiled, asked if I was okay. And I lied, said I had just swallowed wrong. We chatted. Her name was Evelyn. Soft voice, easy laughter, the kind of presence that doesn't press itself into your space, but gently fills the air. She didn't remind me of her, not really, but there was something human, tender. We didn't exchange numbers, didn't make plans, but for that night, I remembered what it felt like to be seen. And sometimes, that's all you need. Just a glimpse of connection to remind you you're still alive. Weeks passed. I kept writing. Letters I'd never send. To her. To myself. Pages filled with thoughts I didn't know I had. It's funny how heartbreak teaches you new languages. Languages of reflection, regret, resilience. You ever write something just to get it out of your head? Even if no one reads it? I did. I still do. Because healing isn't loud. It's quiet. Like a breath you didn't know you were holding, finally exhaling. I don't wait for her anymore. Not really. But some nights, like tonight, I still whisper that old promise into my glass. The one I said at last call. Let me know when you get home, even if she never will. There's a kind of ache that doesn't scream. It just hums. Like background static you've gotten used to. It lives in quiet corners. In the way you glance at a coffee cup she once used, or the pause between two songs that used to mean something. I guess I've been humming for a while now. Not quite broken, just worn in, like denim that fits a little too comfortably. My friends stopped asking about her. Not out of cruelty, just a kind of kindness. They knew I'd say I was fine, and I knew they wouldn't believe it. There's this diner not far from here, Greta's. You've probably passed it if you've driven down 8th after midnight. It glows soft and yellow, like an old soul with nowhere else to be. I started going there late at night, after the bar closed. Coffee, black. No cream, no sugar. Like punishment. The waitress, Maria, always gave me 2 creamers anyway. Didn't ask. Just left them on the side like a quiet offering. She had kind eyes. The sort that looked like they'd seen pain, but never stopped offering warmth. One night, she sat across from me on her break. Didn't say much at first. Just stirred her tea. Looked out the window. Then she said something that stayed with me. You ever think maybe heartbreak just means your heart was real? That one hit me. Like a slow wave, tugging something buried loose. I looked at her and nodded, because what else could I do? You don't always need answers, just moments. Dear, you know those moments, don't you? The quiet ones that don't shout, but settle deep. They become your anchors. Not to hold you back, but to keep you steady. That night at Greta's was one of mine. I walked home slower, not because I was tired, but because I wanted the silence to stretch a little longer. There was a mailbox on the corner of 9th and Willow. Old, rust creeping up the side. I used to joke she'd never send a letter, but if she did, that's where it'd go. So I started writing again. Not just to her, to myself. Letters I'd never send. You ever do that? Write like someone's listening, even if they aren't? It's like confession without the guilt, or maybe with the right amount of it. I found one of those letters the other day, crumpled in a coat pocket I hadn't worn since spring. It read, "Maybe some promises weren't meant to be kept. Maybe they were meant to teach us how much we believed." I don't remember writing that, but I remember feeling it. And maybe that's the point. Feelings don't vanish. They echo, sometimes soft, sometimes loud, but always there. Some nights, the bar's quiet feels heavier than the noise ever did. The clink of glasses, the low hum of an old jazz tune, all of it fades into a kind of background haze. And in that haze, memories come crawling back. Not like ghosts, but like old friends you're not ready to face. There was a Sunday, gray and slow and humid, where we did nothing but lie on the living room floor. She had her head on my chest, listening to the rhythm of my heart like it was a song she already knew the lyrics to. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. It was the kind of silence that felt full, like the air had meaning just because we were sharing it. Funny thing, those are the moments I miss the most. Not the big declarations, not the dramatic kisses in the rain, just the quiet. My friend, have you ever loved someone in silence? I mean, really loved them. Not for what they said or did, but just for who they were when everything else was still. That's what I felt for her. And I think she felt it too. At least for a while. But time stretches love in strange directions. Like dough you're not sure when to stop kneading. Too much handling and it falls apart. She started staying out later. Not with someone else. At least not at first. Just with herself. Lost in thought, in worry, in some private sadness I didn't know how to reach. I tried. God, I did. But trying to love someone who's already packing their heart up is like singing to a closed door. Your voice echoes back, but it never really lands. One night, after another argument that started over the dishes and ended in exhausted silence, she turned to me and said, "It's not you. It's not even me. It's just, this isn't us anymore." And that line, it sat between us like smoke. Not choking, but still hard to breathe around. I didn't argue, didn't beg, just nodded, because sometimes you know when love has already decided to leave, even if the person hasn't. I kept the apartment. The couch still has the dent from where she used to sit. There's a wine stain under the rug I never got out. Every now and then, I swear I can smell her shampoo, lavender, and something warm I could never quite name. Dear listener, you know what I mean, don't you? How a scent can split your chest wide open. How it can time travel you back to a kitchen, a laugh, a hand brushing yours. Some nights, I leave a chair open at the bar. I pretend she might walk in, just for a second. Order that same whiskey sour she always claimed was too sweet. And we talk, not about the past, just about the music, or the weather, or the way the lights hit the window when it rains. I don't expect her anymore, but I still leave the chair open. Not for her, for the promise. I remember this one night, maybe 2 winters ago. I was sitting right here, just like now, with the bartender wiping down the same counter he always does. His motions slow, almost hypnotic. The place was half empty, rain trickling down the windows, and that old neon sign flickering like it couldn't make up its mind. It was the kind of night that asks nothing of you. It just lets you sit, breathe, forget. Then she walked in. Not her. No. A stranger. Red coat, wet hair clinging to her cheeks, eyes scanning the room like she was looking for something she lost years ago. She sat 2 stools down from me, ordered something with gin, and we didn't speak for a while. It's funny how strangers feel safer than friends sometimes. You can tell them things you'd never say out loud otherwise, because they don't know who you were, only who you are right now. She lit a cigarette, didn't smoke it, just let it burn, said it reminded her of someone. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I knew exactly what she meant. You ever do that, my friend? Keep a habit, a scent, a tune, not because you enjoy it, but because someone you loved used to. We talked for an hour, maybe 2, shared stories like cards on a table. She was newly divorced. He left her for a woman 10 years younger. Said it wasn't about age, just timing. She looked down at her hands when she said that, like she didn't believe it either. I told her I used to believe in forever, but now I'm more of a moment kind of guy. She smiled. Not at me, but into her glass. Like the drink knew all her secrets already. We didn't exchange names. Didn't need to. That night wasn't about future plans or numbers saved in phones. It was about now. 2 tired people sharing a moment. She left first. Didn't say goodbye. Just slipped out into the rain, disappearing like a lyric you forget the second the song ends. And me? I stayed. Finished my drink. Let the silence wash over me like warm water. You ever find comfort in silence, my friend? The kind that doesn't need to explain itself? That's what that night gave me. Not closure. Not a spark. Just something quiet. And in its own way, that was enough. There's something strange about the way time moves in a bar after midnight. You'd think it would slow down, right? But it doesn't. It bends. Stretches out like smoke curling from a match you forgot to blow out. I sat here one night. Don't even remember what month it was. But I remember the feeling. That hollow kind of stillness that creeps in after a conversation ends. You know the one, don't you, friend? When the room is full of people, but you feel like you're the only one still listening to the music. That night, I saw Mark again. Hadn't seen him in years. He used to be one of those golden boys in college. You know the type. Charming, loud, always the center of the room. Like a lighthouse that forgot it was built to warn people. He walked in alone. Wore a suit that didn't quite fit anymore. Hairline thinner, eyes darker. He saw me, smiled, and slid into the seat beside me like no time had passed at all. We talked like old friends do. Half lies, half laughter. He asked if I still played guitar. I said no, but I still remembered the chords. He nodded like that meant something. Then his voice dropped. He told me his wife left, took the kids, moved to Vermont, said she needed fresh air, but he knew she really meant space. He kept looking at the wall behind the bar, like it might give him an answer if he stared long enough. Said he missed the sound of small feet in the morning, the way she used to hum while folding laundry. Silly things, he said, but they were the soundtrack of his life. And just like that, we were two men sitting in a bar, talking about ghosts still living in the daylight. I reached over, put a hand on his shoulder. Didn't say much. Didn't need to. Sometimes, presence is the only apology the world can offer. You know what he asked me before he left? Do you think she'll ever miss me? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't care, but because I honestly didn't know. Maybe the question wasn't for me. Maybe he just needed to say it out loud. He stood, gave me that half smile again, and said, "We were all gonna be something once." Then he walked out into the rain. And I stayed, just like always. Let the ice in my glass melt. Let the night lean in closer. Thought about all the promises we whisper to each other. At last call. There was a time I thought I understood what love meant. Not the grand kind they write songs about, but the small, quiet kind that shows up without a warning. Like a candle already burning when you walk into the room. Her name was Elise. Funny how even now, saying it feels like biting into something sweet and bitter at the same time. We met at a bookstore. Can you believe that? A damn bookstore. She was sitting on the floor in the fiction section, reading the last page of a novel before even buying it. I asked her if that ruined the ending. She looked up, smirked, and said, "No, I just want to know if it's worth falling for." That was her, through and through. Always trying to guess the ending before committing to the beginning. Maybe that's why we were always a little off tempo, out of sync. Still, we danced. She loved old music. Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald. She said the world felt slower when those voices played. Like the chaos outside didn't matter so much. We used to cook dinner together in her tiny apartment, barefoot, wine in hand, music playing low. She'd dance around the kitchen, twirling a spoon like it was a microphone. Those were the good days. You know the kind, right? The kind you never realize you're inside until they're gone. But something shifted. Not all at once. More like rain seeping through the ceiling. A slow, steady leak. She started talking about moving. New York, maybe. She had a job offer. She said she needed a bigger life. And I didn't stop her. I didn't fight. Didn't beg. Didn't even ask her to stay. Because deep down, I thought she'd come back. I really did. That was our last night together. We sat on her rooftop, looking out over the city, drinking red wine from mugs. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "If we're ever in the same city again, promise me you'll find me." I made that promise. Like a fool. Like someone who believed in stories with perfect ending. It's been 9 years, my friend. 9. And I've never seen her again. But every time I hear Sinatra, or pass by that little bookstore, I wonder, do you think she remembers? Do you think that promise meant anything to her? Or was it just something people say when they're saying goodbye? I don't know if you've ever sat alone in a bar, half drunk, with nothing but your own thoughts echoing inside your head. It's a strange kind of silence. Not empty, just full of everything you didn't say when you had the chance. That's what most nights feel like now. Especially here. Same corner seat. Same bartender who nods without asking what I want. Same rainy window. It's like time forgot this place. Or maybe it just agreed to leave me behind. You ever get stuck in a memory, like a song on repeat, playing over and over until you don't know where the past ends and the present begins? I swear, some nights I see her shadow in the doorway, hear her laugh tucked between the clinks of glasses. But it's just the whiskey. It always is. I tried dating after her. Of course I did. People told me it was time to move on. They meant, well, you know how it is. Friends who care too much, but not enough to understand. There was a woman named Laura. Smart. Funny. The kind of person who sees straight through your excuses. She'd touch my arm and ask, "Are you really here with me, or are you still with her?" And the truth was, I was somewhere in between. Not lost, just haunted. Laura didn't deserve that. None of them did. But I kept trying to fill the space Elise left behind, like pouring water into a glass with a crack down the middle. You know, it's funny. I remember Elise once said, "Some people aren't meant to be chapters. They're the whole damn book." She laughed when she said it, but I think she meant it. And I knew she was talking about herself. So, yeah, maybe I never had a chance. Maybe I was just a page in her story. But damn it, what a beautiful page it was. Now I spend my nights chasing that same feeling. Not the person, just the feeling. The way she made the world feel softer, quieter, like even my mistakes had meaning. And here I am again, talking to the night like it owes me something. Like if I just say it out loud enough, she'll appear. But that's not how life works, is it, my friend? People leave. Promises fade. And what you're left with is an old bar, a half-empty glass, and a memory that refuses to grow old. Some nights, when the bar is closing and the street lights throw long, lonely shadows on the sidewalk, I find myself talking to her out loud. Not in some dramatic, movie-style breakdown. Just quiet things. Like, do you remember the beach in October? Or, was that last call promise ever real to you? I don't expect answers. I guess it's just comforting. Pretending she's still listening somewhere. You know, dear friend, it's strange what we hold on to. It's never the grand gestures, not the vacations or the surprise gifts. It's the way she'd steal a fry off my plate without asking. The way her eyes crinkled when she tried to hold in a laugh. The silence after an argument where I could still feel her breathing next to me. We always said we'd be honest with each other. No secrets. No pretending. But the truth is, there were 1,000 things we never said. Out of fear, or pride, or just plain stubbornness. And I think that's what hurts most. Because when someone walks out of your life, you don't just lose the past. You lose every possible future. Every laugh you might have shared. Every lazy Sunday morning. Every fight you never got to have. Sometimes I wonder what she's doing now. Is she married? Happy? Did she keep that book I gave her with the underlined poems? Did she ever walk past the old bakery where we shared our first kiss and feel even a flicker of anything? And would she recognize me now? This older version of the boy she once loved. Would she think I held up my end of the promise? That promise, it was barely a whisper. We were both tipsy, laughing, swaying in the back of a taxi, her head on my shoulder. She looked up and said, "No matter what happens, don't forget this." And I said, "I promise." We didn't define this. We didn't need to. It was everything and nothing. Just a moment. A bubble of warmth that felt infinite at the time. But promises made at last call, under soft lights and the haze of alcohol, don't always survive the morning. Life shows up. Dreams change. And some people drift so far apart, they forget how close they used to be. Still, I kept mine. Maybe not in the way she expected, but I remembered. Every year, every April, every late night when the world went quiet. That's something, right? To carry someone with you, even after they're gone. To let their memory shape your days, soften your edges, make you pause before saying something you'll regret. I think that's love. There was a letter I never sent. I wrote it the night before what would have been our 10th anniversary. No big ceremony was ever planned, but I couldn't ignore the date. It started simple. "Hey, I hope you're doing okay." Then it turned into pages, pouring out everything I never said when I should have. How I regretted letting the silence stretch too far. How I wished we'd been braver, more honest. You ever do that, my friend? Write something just to get it out? Knowing full well you'll never send it? Just letting the ink bleed everything your voice never could? It's kind of like talking to ghosts. You know they're not really there, but you speak anyway, because part of you still needs to be heard. I folded the letter, sealed it, and placed it in the back of my closet, behind an old winter coat I haven't worn in years. It's still there, I think, unless time found a way to carry it all. There's a funny kind of peace in unsent letters. They don't demand closure. They don't scream for response. They just exist. Like little time capsules of who we were at our most raw. Who we wanted to be. Who we weren't brave enough to become. I've lived a quiet life mostly. Some successes. Some failures. But always with this soft thread running through it. A memory of a promise made at last call. You know what I think now? Promises aren't always about keeping someone in your life. Sometimes they're about keeping a part of yourself alive. The best part. She made me better. Not in some fairy tale way. Not because we were perfect for each other, but because she challenged me. She saw through me. And for a while, she loved what she saw. I've tried dating since. You'd expect that. Some were kind. A few even made me laugh again. But love, that kind of love, It doesn't come twice. Not for me, anyway. And maybe that's okay. Maybe some stories aren't meant to be rewritten. They just live in your chest, quiet and steady, like the low hum of a familiar song. So now, when I sit alone in this little bar, watching raindrops race down the window, I raise my glass not in sorrow, but in thanks. Thanks for what was, for who I became, and for the echo of a promise that somehow I'm still keeping. Sometimes I wonder what she'd say if she saw me now, sitting in this same bar, under the same flickering neon sign, telling our story to strangers in shadows. Would she laugh? Shake her head? Roll her eyes and tell me I talk too damn much? Yeah, she probably would. But maybe, just maybe, she'd sit down across from me, smile that soft, tired smile, and order her usual whiskey neat, no ice, like always. You know, I think that's what love really is. Not the fireworks, not the grand gestures. It's the quiet knowing, the comfort in silence, the memory of someone's favorite drink long after they're gone. There's something kind about remembering, even when it hurts a little, even when the person you remember belongs to a time that no longer exists. So I keep coming back here, not because I'm stuck, but because every time the rain taps the window, every time the bartender wipes down the counter, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. This little bar, it's seen my worst days, held my broken pieces, and somehow never judged me for any of them. And you, my friend listening right now, thank you for letting me speak, for sitting with me in this moment. You didn't have to, but you did. Maybe you've got your own last call promise, one you kept, one you broke, one you're still trying to forget or forgive. That's okay. We all carry echoes. We all drink to something we don't say out loud. So, before they flick the lights and tell me it's time to go, I'll leave you with this. Keep the promises that matter, even if only to yourself. And if one night you find yourself in a little bar on a rainy night, sitting alone with a quiet drink, look around. You might just hear a familiar story, whispered over the music, soft as breath. Because somewhere, someone's still keeping a promise, even after last call.